Guys, Frank Aldridge here. Look, question of the month. It's a bit too big a topic to really cover in this short call, but it's how do we attract the best suppliers? So this came up, and we're doing a workshop through Algom. It's a free workshop if you're an Algom member. So I'd really urge you to get along to it, because that's where I'm going to go into it in a lot more detail. So today's going to be pretty quick, but 9th of April at 11 o'clock, it's a 1 hour sort of workshop, webinar type thing, and I'm doing it with Damien Wood from Wanganui District Council. So really urge you to get to that. But so the best way I can sort of describe this is an example. We just did a project ourselves. So and the goal here was we managed to attract in two really good contractors who had never really tended to this council before. So it was for a relatively small bridge. So what I did was, when I was coming up with the strategy, I had a chat to the couple of the contractors. One of them said, and this is before we engaged, so we're allowed to do this, but one of them said, look, we don't tend to tender. We're really busy, we know what we're doing, it's costly, tends to waste our time, and if we come up with a design that their engineers don't like, hey, then it's a dead duck. So I said, well, okay, what about if we did this? What about if we had a really simple process, simple registration of interest, low effort, right? This is costing next to nothing to do this, and it also makes it really easy for the clients to evaluate. So we did that with them, and then we had a really simple request for proposal. And what we did there is instead of having a whole lot of written stuff, we had a little bit of written, just the declarations and stuff, a bit about their team. The rest we did in verbal questions. We did a 1 hour Teams call with them, and we'd go through those typical questions, but they were all verbal. So that made it really attractive. Low cost for them, low effort for them, low effort for us. The other one, and we really had to, work with the client on this one to get them to understand it, we only had 10% waiting on price. And so that made it really attractive. It just means you're not having this race to the bottom. But how we protect the client is we have a thing called the preferred respondent. And I'll explain more about that in the workshop we're going to do, but it's really, we just pick the best on non-price, and then if we can do a deal with them, we can make everything work, price, contract, all that sort of stuff, yep, great. If we can't, we park them and go to the next best. So that means you're never going to pay more than you want to, right? That's the key. But the other part of it was, we said, look, what about if we did what we call an early contractor involvement model? So rather than a design build, we pick a supplier, they do design with the client, and then at the end of that, so you pay them to do that, and at the end of it, you get the best design, best buildable design, most pragmatic design, then they price it. And if you can't agree the pricing, we reserve the right to drop back to the next best. So we're going to go into that in more detail. Hope you can get to this, because there's a bit to cover on this topic, but this is just a great example. We made it work, and it worked really great for the client. Hope to see you there.